afternoon, students. Students, good afternoon. Are you hearing my voice?
వినబడుతుంది సార్.
Yeah, right. Okay, in the last class, we discussed about certain women organizations which established by themselves, like Women India Association, All India Women Conference. We had things regarding these women organizations as a part of the social women organizations. Today, we are going to see about such personalities who work for the upliftment of women, basically in the modern India. Those were the pioneers in the upliftment of women, and their contribution only towards the eradication of social evils confined to the women in Indian society. Okay, so among them, there were many women you find during the colonial period or pre-independence India or during the British rule. Yet that time, you are aware that such educational facilities were very meager, and the orthodoxy, orthodoxy Indian traditional society not permitted these women to educate themselves or go to schools or to have a rationalistic thinking at that time, because the social rigidity and awareness was somewhat meager at that time. So all these certain reasons why the women were very lack towards the education, even though many women like Savitribai Phule, Ramabai Ranade, many other women who darely, darely educated themselves, and they tried to educate others also through established their own educational institutions. Okay, so with the support of male reformers. Okay, so among them, we had three to four important women who had great contribution towards the establishment of educational institutions only for the women, and they also trained the women, and also they provided certain facilities to improve themselves and to get livelihood and employment opportunities. Okay, so I will give you one or two important examples and the great personalities who had that that contribution basically from the women reformers. Okay, so and in 1849, when the Beton School opened, and in 82, when the Indian Education Commission, nothing but the Hunter Commission, reviewed the progress of education in India. Serious efforts had been made to develop primary schools for girls and teacher training institutions. Okay, so higher education for women and co-education were still contentious issues, and faced with that with the fact that 98% of the school-age girls were not in school. Authors of the Hunter Commission report recommended more liberal grants in aid for the girls' schools than for the boys. Okay, so and special scholarships and prizes for girls also recommended. And in the next 2 decades, higher education expanded rapidly, whereas there were only 6 women Indian universities in 1881-82. By the turn of the century, there were 264. Okay, so during the same period time, secondary school enrollment rose from 2054 to 41,580. Okay, somewhat a great increase in the enrollment of secondary school level. Okay, so when you see the story of women's education in the period following the Hunter Commission and the end of the century, can be told through the work of three pioneer educationalists, women educationalists. Okay, so particularly Pandita Ramabai Saraswati, founder of Sharada Sadan in Bombay and Pune, and Mataji Tejaswini, who began the Mahakali Pathashala of Calcutta, and D.K. Karve, who began a school for widows in Pune. Okay, so these three examples are particularly significant because they represent efforts to build female schools districts from those of religious reform organizations. Okay, so these were not secular public schools in the contemporary sense. In fact, they are all narrowly caste, class, and community based. Okay, so I will start with Pandita Ramabai. Pandita Ramabai was truly remarkable as a pioneer in women's education and rebel champion of women rights. Okay, so her father supervised her education and allowed her to remain unmarried. Okay, so when her father and mother died, Ramabai was 16 years old, unmarried, and able to read Sanskrit. Okay, so she and her brother traveled throughout India lecturing on female education and social reform. The Calcutta elite were enchanted and bestowed on her the name Saraswati. Okay, so the goddess of learning, and called her Pandita because she seemed to learn as other Brahmin Pandits. Okay, so other audience were outraged and they jeered and bowed when she attempted to speak. Okay, so Ramabai brother died in Calcutta, and she married his close friend Bipin Bihari Das Medhavi. Okay, so a Shudra by caste. Okay, so the next year, at the age 23, Ramabai gave birth to a daughter. Unfortunately, her husband died the same year. Okay, so in the following year. Okay, so returning to Pune, Ramabai began to work with reformers to educate women through the Arya Mahala Sabha, Aryan Women's Society. And while in Pune, she gave evidence before the Hunter Commission and stressed the urgent need for women doctors and teachers. Okay, so and determined to learn English and study medicine, Ramabai sought help from members of Anglo-Catholic community of Saint Mary, the Virgin, whose mother house was at Vantage in Oxfordshire. Okay, so England, and they were able to give her some assistance while the balance of her expense were met through the sale of Stri Dharma. Okay, Stri Dharma Niti. Okay, so the morals for women. Her book urging women to take charge of their own lives. Okay, so Ramabai, her younger daughter, and a traveling companion, Anandibai Bhagat, left for England in 1883. Soon after, the three of them had settled at Vantage. Ramabai declared she was unwilling to convert to the Christianity. Okay. So, and Ramabai was only 25 years of age, had already watched her parents, her brother, her husband, and her closest friend die. It was at this time alone with her small daughter in the strange country that Ramabai decided to accept the baptism. Okay, so she continues her studies until 1886 when she decided to sail from America to attend the graduation ceremonies of her cousin Anandi Bai Joshi. Okay, so and uh, in to the finance this trip and popularize her cause, Ramabai wrote The High Caste Hindu Woman. 10,000 copies of this book were sold before Ramabai had left America. Okay, so in 1887, Boston Advice set up a Ramabai Association to support her work in India. Okay, so she's traveled throughout the USA and Canada studying educational, philanthropic, and charitable institutions and lecturing to various groups. Okay, so in India, Pandita Ramabai established Sharada Sadan, Home of Wisdom, a school for widows in Bombay. Okay, so just wait, I will share my screen. Okay, so in India, Pandita Ramabai established Sharda Sadan, Home of Wisdom, a school for widows in Bombay, and this was to be non-sectarian school where all the caste rules of Brahmins were which observed. Okay, so it attracted some high caste Hindu widows. Among them, uh, Godubai renamed Anandibai after her marriage to D.K. Karve. But generally, the Hindu community remained suspicious of Ramabai's motives. Okay, so and where after that, Ramabai's second school at Mukti, second school called as Mukti, was established 30 miles outside of Pune at Kedgam, following the famine that began in 1897. She began taking women and children who were victims of famine into Sharada Sadan, where she fed and clothed them and enrolled them in her school. Okay, so attempting to control the plague, the government placed restrictions on the movement of the people. In Pune, the city magistrate placed a limit on the number of inmates in Sharda Sadan. Okay, since she could not keep famine victims in Pune, Ramabai took her charges to Kedagam, where she had purchased 100 acres of land. By 1900, this venture had grown into a major institutions housing nearly 2,000 women and children attending school and involved in industrial training and production. Okay, so and given a free hand, Ramabai urged the inmates of her home to become Christians and develop a unique educational program to suit their needs. Okay, so her own version of Christianity was doctrinally electric, combining ideas she had learned from the sisters at vantage and from Roman Catholics, Jewish and Indian Christian friends. Okay, so and then Ramabai, Ramabai's educational work impressed contemporaries, but her connection with Christianity has objection or contribution to women's education. Okay, so and where but apart from the our Christianity, all things were went very successfully, and she became a successful reformer, where she given the 100% her tried 100% 100% effort to eradicate such evils in the society and uplift women basically. Okay, so and there were many issues that provoked Ramabai's sharp and unpopular comments. When she heard about the Rukmabai case, she exploded in angry denunciations of both the British and Indian men. Okay, so after that, one more important reformer to be discussed about Mataji Maharani Tapaswini. Okay, so Mataji Maharani Tapaswini also one of important reformer who tried her best to uplift women in India, particularly to educate women at higher levels. Okay, so the Mahakali Pathshala, great Mother Kali school of Bengal, stands in sharp contrast to Pandita Ramabai schools with their missionary connection and foreign support. Okay, so founded in Calcutta in 1893 by Her Holiness Mataji Maharani Tapaswini, and the school and its many branches has been styled a genuine Indian attempt at developing female education. Okay, so this school received no financial assistance from foreigners and employed no foreign teachers. Okay, so founders of institutions accepted the school model for female education, but opposed to co-education and the use of one syllabus for both the gender. Okay, so their aim was to educate girls on strictly national lines in the hope that they might regenerate Hindu society. And this was a project consistent with those of nationalist, rivalist, who in the historian Tanika Sarkar's view did not automatically oppose reform in the name of resisting the colonial knowledge. Okay, so and Gangabai, Mataji Maharani Tapaswini, a Brahmin woman of the Deccan who had learned Sanskrit and studied sacred literature, opened her first school with 30 students. Okay, she had come to Calcutta with a mission to promote female education in harmony with Hindu religious and moral principles. Unlike Pandita Ramabai, Gangabai, Mataji Maharani Tapaswini. So Gangabai believed that Hindu society could be regenerated from within. Her notion and ideal education for women was translated into a syllabus which included a knowledge of sacred literature and history, an understanding of myths and legends that spoke of duties of the daughter, wife, daughter-in-law, and mother, and practical skills such as cooking and sewing. Okay, so where the school, Mahakali school, proved immensely popular. Patrons approved of the emphasis on the religious injunctions, domestic skills, and strict parada. And although the original curriculum included very little formal reading and writing, this gradually changed. Okay, so in 1948, the Mahakali Pathshala was affiliated to Kolkata University. By that time, all that remained of the original curriculum was the performance of a few pujas, religious rituals. Okay, so in the early years of the 20th century, the existence of the school and its popularity were regarded as indicators that the conservative elements of the society, at least in Bengal, had given their approval to the concept of female education. Okay, so another important personality who given a great who contributed a lot to educate the women basically. He was D.K. Karu. Okay, so in 1890, D.K. Karve established a number of female schools in Pune. In his autobiography, Looking Back, Karve reconstructs his personal history to explain how his experience led him to build a school for widows in 1896. Other accounts tell the story of Godabai Joshi, where later better to be called as the Anandibai. Okay, so Godabai Joshi, a child widow who became Karve's second wife. Okay, so she dreamed of setting up widow's home soon after she became Pandita Ramabai's first student. Okay, so then the Carver's association with reform movements dated back to his college years. After graduation from Elphinstone College, he taught Elephantines College. He taught mathematics in the three different high schools in Bombay before accepting a position at Ferguson College in Pune. Okay, so there he was elected a life member of the Deccan Educational Society. When his wife died, he decided he could marry a widow and choose Godabai Anandibai, later Anandibai, the 22-year-old sister of his college friend. Okay, so and then uh, he started. Then he uh, trying to establish certain special schools only for the women. Okay, so and the curriculum of his colleges or schools was designed to make the young widows employable and self-sufficient. Okay, so because schools for girls were scarce, and Carve was asked to admit unmarried girls as well, and accommodate to accommodate this new these girls, Carve set up Mahila Vidyalaya, girls' school, to develop good wives, good mothers, and good neighbors. Okay, so he believed that widows needed an education that would make them economically independent and would enable them to think for themselves. Okay, so and another Parvati Bai Atwali, Anandi Bai's widowed sister. Okay, so Anandi Bai is wife of D.K. Karve, and Anandi Bai's sister also widow, right? So Parvati Bai Atwali, Anandi Bai's widow's sister, played an important role in the growth and expansion of Karve schools. Married at the age of 11, Parvati Bai became a widow at the age of 20, the third widowed daughter in her father's home. Okay, so rejecting all discussions of remarriage, Parvati Bai declared her wish to study and do some work of importance. Okay, so after receiving her education in Karve school, she became a teacher and then superintendent. And Parvati Bai voluntarily, a widow, orthodox in her food habits, spoke publicly against widow remarriage. Okay, so later because here you find the Anandibai and Parvati Atwale, both were important, became like a important reformers within the DK Carve's schools and colleges, and one more contribution of DK Carve is Carve's third institution for women was Women's University, founded in 1960. Okay, so he had head of the Women's University in Japan, and concluded that this model would be more suitable for India than the Western co-educational university. As president of National Social Conference in 1915, he said, we must recognize that both national and social economy require that women should occupy a station of their own distinct from that of men. Okay, so here after that the institution which limped along for the first few years until it was adopted by Sir Vitalbhai Thakarse, who contributed one crore 50 thousand rupees, 50 lakhs rupees in 1920, with the stipulation that the university be named after his mother, where Srimati Natibai Damodar Thakare's Indian Women's University, like SNDT University, located in Bombay, where it is shifted from Pune to Bombay later. Okay, so and after that, after that, these such Ramabai Rade and Maharani Tapaswini, and Godabai, better to be called as Anandi Bai, and Parvati Bai Atwale, and another important social reformer who had a great contribution towards women education was Begum Rukia Sakawat Hussain. Okay, so in Begum Rukia Sakawat Hussain, in 1909, Begum Rukia Sakawat Hussain began an institution for Muslim girls in the district town of Bagalpur, Bihar. She set up the school soon after her husband's death, but his relations were offended. Okay, so driven out of her home by her stepmother, Begum Rukia closed the school and moved to Calcutta, where she opened another school, Shakawat Memorial School, Girls' School, in 1911. Okay, so although this was not the first school set up by Muslim women for Muslim girls, Begum Rukia's systematic and systematic devotion to this project has earned her the title of pioneer. Okay, so this school, with Urdu as its language of instruction, was designed and organized for students who observed Farada, even though Begum Rukia wrote and spoke publicly about the evils of this custom. Okay, so and Begum Rukia was fortunate by her own account in having an elder brother and husband who encouraged her interest in education. Her elder sister Karimunisa had not been so lucky. Okay, when it was discovered that Karimunisa had learned to read English, she was sent to live under the watchful eye of her grandmother until her marriage could be arranged. Okay, so Begum Rukia Shekawat Hussain, who was also a writer, a great writer, in her three essays, Ardhangi, the female half, Griha, the house, and Burka, which is the veil, Parda. Rukia commented on women's asymmetrical development, lack of economic means, and confinement for the sake of male honor. Okay, so in Subruhini, the idle housewife, she pointed out that education would help women fulfill their traditional roles knowledgeably and professionally, and hence contribute to progress of the nation. Okay, so and um, She also had other contributions. While Begum Rukia School conformed to rules of uh, female. Okay, so the female seclusion, she wrote stinging criticism of the practice. In addition to her essay on the burqa, she wrote Sultana's Dream in 1905, a short story in which women ran the world and men hid indoors, and Avarodashini, the secluded ones, which wrote in 1929, 47 serialized reports documenting the custom of Parda. Okay, so and the Rukia's campaign was unpopular. Okay, so we cannot see such personality at any books or any syllabus, and accused of being both pro-Christian and Christian. Rukia attracted more hostility when she endorsed Catherine Mayo's Mother India. Okay, so but her school remained open, attended by Muslim girls from good families. Okay, so like she was a great personality who contributed a lot to develop the education among the Muslim girls after Aligarh, sorry, Anglo-Oriental, sorry, after Sir Syed Ahmad Khan effort. Okay, so after the Rukyas, another great important personality, Sister Subbalakshmi. Okay, so yet Begum Rukia opened her school for Muslim girls in Calcutta, and Sister Subbalakshmi established a school for younger high caste widows in Madras. Okay, so at the same time, she also Subbalakshmi also opened a school at Madras, and Sister Subbalakshmi's concern was society's discarded child widows. Okay, so our plan was to transform these unfortunate and inauspicious women into useful and valued members of the society. Okay, so prior to her own marriage at the age of 11, Subbulakshmi had received 4.5 years of formal schooling. Her husband died shortly after their wedding. She returned to her parents' home in Rishiyapur, Tanjore district, and her parents decided not to burden her with all the restrictions normally placed on widows and instead arranging to send her school. Okay, so their community reacted so violently that Subramaniam Iyer, Subbulakshmi's father, decided to move. So in Madras, Subramaniam Iyer uh, taught his daughter English at home and then sent her to a convent school. The nuns' dedication so impressed the young Subbalakshmi that she resolved to devote her life to educate widows. Okay, so and Subbalakshmi's interest in helping widows coincide with that of Miss Christina Lynn, the Irish feminist who was appointed inspectress of female education in Coimbatore. Miss Lynn was deeply troubled by the difficulty of finding suitable teachers for the schools. Okay, so at the same time, she was aware that Madras had over 22,000 widows between the ages of 5 and 15, many of them Brahmins. Okay, so meeting with Subbalakshmi's father, Miss Ling explained that she had worked out a plan whereby the government could support a home for young Brahmin widows willing to be trained as teachers. Okay, so likewise, Subbalakshmi entered into the Christiana Link's family. Okay, so where in 1912 the government agreed to support a boarding school for training teachers. The government would pay that rent and give scholarships to the three girls. The remainder of the operating expense had to be met through donations and fees. Okay, so in that category, the Subbulakshmi became one of a fellow, and where the school's curriculum was set by the government. The aim was to train these women as teachers first. They were prepared for regular classes, then they completed the syllabus of matriculation, and finally they entered Queen Mary's College. Okay, so which began in 1914 as the first college for women in Madras. Okay, so uh, likewise, Subbulakshmi became educated and a best teacher. Later, which is later, Subbulakshmi, sister Subbulakshmi was compelled to open Sharada Vidyalaya, a school and boarding school for adult widows. And this facility was necessary because the ice house did not, because where she want to support all the widows and where the boarding school was running strict conformity with the Orthodox Hindu customs. In the early days of the school, Sister Subbulakshmi denounced remarriage. Her widowed aunt V.S. Valambal Ammal was described by a visitor to the home as a woman in disfigured condition, wearing a white sari and performing a traditional puja. Okay, so where Sister Subbulakshmi understood the importance of running the boarding school, are widows in accordance with the orthodox customs and caste codes. Okay, so likewise, Subbulakshmi, spiritually, Sister Subbulakshmi was deeply attracted to Swami Vivekananda and Ramakrishna mission. She regarded Ramakrishna and his disciple Vivekananda as the first religious reformer to be deeply concerned with the women question. Okay, so although the model of the Catholic nun attracted her in her childhood, as an adult sister, Subbulakshmi drew her spiritual sustenance and philosophy of action from Reformed Hinduism. Okay, so again, she entered in the Hinduism by leaving the Christianity. Okay, so these are certain important women reformers, and we have many reformers in the British India, and we'll see again some more women's contribution to towards the upliftment of women in modern India. Okay, I will continue with the same concept on the next class also. Okay, so dear students, this is about my class today, and regarding these women reformers who were the great pioneers in the education towards the women in the colonial or pre-independent India, British India, whatever it may be. But this is their attempt was a great thing they initiated towards the women education in India due to certain hurdles. Without going back such hurdles, they done a lot to uplift women in India, particularly from the traditional Hindu and Muslim societies. Okay, so students, this is the end of my class today. Regarding my class lecture, we have any queries or any uh, doubts you want to clarify? Now you are welcome to ask. Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
ఓకే, సో దీనికి సంబంధించి ఏమన్నా డౌట్స్ ఉంటే మీరు అడగచ్చు. ఇంకొకటి, మీకు ఇంటర్నల్ కండక్ట్ చేయబోతున్నాము 23rd 24th అయితే. సో ఆ 2 రోజులు కూడా మీకు ఏదైతే క్వశ్చన్ పేపర్ వాట్సాప్లో పోస్ట్ చేస్తాము, సో మీరు ఆన్సర్ చేసిన తర్వాత సపరేట్ పేపర్ మీద ఆన్సర్ చేసిన తర్వాత మరలా మీరు ఆన్సర్ చేసినటువంటి పేపర్ని ఫోటో తీసి దాన్ని సేమ్ ఇండివిజువల్ టీచర్స్ వాట్సాప్కి పంపించాల్సి ఉంటుంది సేమ్ డే. ఓకే రైట్,
23rd 24 సార్.
అవును. ఓకే,
సార్ మరి
మిగతా
అసైన్మెంట్
సార్ అసైన్మెంట్స్
చెప్తాను.
ఏ టాపిక్స్ రాయాలి
తర్వాత చెప్తాను, అసైన్మెంట్స్ సంబంధించి తర్వాత చెప్తాను. ఓకే, సో మిగతా వాళ్ళకు కూడా